Hi all, hope you're safe and well, and welcome to SVG Europe Women's first virtual event. This is a special new innovative style for us, 15 minutes, designed to fit into your busy lockdown schedules. Today we're going to be talking around the issue of how coronavirus has impacted women working in sports broadcasting, both employed and freelance. First of all, we're going to hear from freelance sports content producer Ruth Lilly, who's going to speak about her tumultuous year since the virus hit. And then we were going to be hearing from Charlotte Winter, outside broadcast manager at BT Sport, who was going to talk about how her world had changed so drastically since BT Sport moved to its new decentralised remote production. However, I had a call about 3 hours ago from a very distraught Charlotte saying that basically there's water in her electrics, her flat is uninhabitable, and she was busy trying to decide what to eat out of her dying freezer, the ice cream or the frozen fish fingers. Luckily, she chose the ice cream. But stepping into the breach, we have none other than Roisin McKeniry, who is head of production technology at Timeline TV for BT Sport. And she is basically instrumental in has been instrumental in helping BT Sport move to its new decentralised system of production. So we're really lucky to have her, and I'm totally glad that she's going to be speaking with us today. She's going to be great. Unfortunately, Katie Harrison, who was originally billed to be talking as well from Sky Sports, is unable to join us due to personal commitments. So I guess one thing we're learning from today is the joy and fun of working with live Zoom events. So we're going to hear from our first speaker, bit of housekeeping for you. While she's speaking, please post all your questions for her using the Q&A facility at the bottom of your screen. Once she's concluded her talk, I'll pick a couple of them and I'll ask her, and we'll do the same for our second speaker. But have no fear, all your questions are going to be answered. If we have lots of questions, we'll answer them offline at a later date. So, well, one more thing, please use Speaker View. It'll look better. It'll be good. Use Speaker View. So without further ado, I will now hand over to Ruth Lilly, who is going to be speaking on survival, life as a sports broadcasting freelancer during the year of COVID-19. Hi, Ruth.
Hi.
Hello. Okay, over to you.
All right, so a little bit about me. Basically, I'm a freelance sport content producer. I've often doing anything from producing on shoot, being in the edit, or being on OBs. I was a full-time assistant producer with DAZN on their Premiership rugby coverage. And then at the start of the year, I decided to turn self-employed for a bit more flexibility and to expand my options a little bit. My first gig was as a segment reporter on the remote production of the Lausanne Youth Winter Olympic Games for OBS. And then since then, I've been booked up with clients on VT coordinating back on the Premiership Rugby for DAZN, match highlights editor for WTA projects, shoot producing for clients on various projects like Arsenal Football Club, O2, England Red Roses. Been a broadcast journalist on Premier League Today at IMG, and I was due to be a reporter at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics for OBS in summer. Coronavirus hit. And first it was Indian Wells, a WTA tournament that was cancelled 2 days before a week-long editing job. Luckily, these offered a 50% cancellation fee, and I was able to fill those shifts elsewhere. Then, whilst on shift at Premier League Today, on Friday the 13th of all days, it was announced Premier League was cancelled. And on that day, they decided to cancel the format of the shows and change, and I think I did about a 3 or 4 hour shift and clipped up about 2 things for the whole day. It was a bizarre situation because the full-time staff didn't know what they were going to be doing, and all the freelancers were losing not only the football jobs with IMG, but with other clients as well. Premiership Rugby was then cancelled 2 weeks later, and all the shoots started coming to a close. But it was okay because I thought, I've only got to wait till summer, I'll go in Tokyo 2020, and then it was announced that was also going to be postponed. So what was next? My first thought was to move to a different format, either reality or factual. All those productions were also being cancelled. And full-time production staff, they were already going to go down to their bare bones, so they were going to be first choice for any remote work. And editors with suite setups at home, I've got a laptop, I've got an edit program, but I'd only want to do short-form content. I'd never want to offer anything else to a client. The government announced their self-employment help, and I fell through the bracket, being recently self-employed. And I applied for universal credit, but because one of my clients pay me via pay as you earn, I also fell through that bracket as well. So in the next few months to come is going to be kind of a cycle where I'll be dipping into my savings because I'm solely responsible for my mortgage and bills. And that was kind of, I put aside some money for tax from every job. So those savings are already, they're already being used for something else, and now I'm going to be dipping into them. And then there's that kind of worry that there's rumours around the format of sports changing, shrunken formats, games played close together, seasons being shortened, neutral venues. Is there going to be a new way of sports broadcasting from this point forward? And what does that mean for freelancers? It was kind of bringing up a lot of sort of, and still is, a lot of hypothetical questions about, what's going to happen. The structure of sport, rumoured to be compacted into a shorter time frame. Will this just mean the same staff will work on consecutive number of games in a day per se? So as opposed to just sort of one team doing one match? Outside broadcasts will become a bit more obsolete. With remote production being accelerated, it was already happening, but it's COVID-19 pushing that a bit faster. The need for less staff on locations like VT coords and producers, will this result in production being done more in-house by the full-time staff? This was already happening more and more. But, is this, again, accelerating that change and pushing the freelancer out? Will there be more emphasis on this sort of multi-role where somebody has more responsibility to be given to a sort of sole person in production, increasing their workload? We already see it as an assistant producer where you're expected to sort of produce and edit your own work. If production companies see this as a sort of cheaper benefit that works now, will there be fewer roles sort of required when sport does return back to normal? It's kind of, will that result in less freelancers being required? Most companies, as far as I'm aware from sort of what friends have said, have furloughed a lot of their regular staff. What will that mean for budgets and staffing when it does return? And, where does that sit with the freelancer? Will there be a budget for a freelancer? There's a lot of hypothetical questions, and there's more being added to that sort of thought every day for someone's. But like my lockdown plan at the moment is sort of to just be patient and wait for sport to come back. No one really knows the answers to the questions right now about who, what, and when. I've been trying to get involved in other projects to buy my time and keep creative. They're all voluntary, but I've been helping sort of boost and redesign a social media for a charity rugby cancer page, per se, and helping plan a couple of future shoots for local grassroots rugby just to sort of keep creative, have a few new clients, got fresh ideas, and just kind of keep doing something at home. And I've kind of enjoyed having a bit of a break because, as most people will know, working in TV can be kind of tiring. You do a lot of traveling, a lot of long hours. So it's quite nice to sort of sit back, reflect, figure out sort of, and appreciate actually having the job, like appreciate the work, because it just becomes a mundane. But obviously as long as it doesn't last too long, and hopefully it goes back to normal pretty soon.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you. So I've got a couple of questions for you. Mm-hmm. First of all, from Nikki Fisher, do you believe the Premier League will be resumed soon, and will it be viable behind closed doors?
I've heard a lot of different rumours. I think the news today, for example, was Bundesliga is coming back, and there's going to be a new date. But then there has been, I think the Austrian Football League has been completely cancelled, and La Liga have got their players being tested today. So I think there's a lot of approaches, but I mean, everyone saw what happened when PSG played behind closed doors. The fans still went outside. You're not stopping people, and there'll be a lot of sort of protests about it. So, I think we're still looking at sort of midsummer, if I'm totally honest, with kind of what's being predicted and rumoured.
Mm-hmm. And would that work behind closed doors?
You still need a number of people to make that work. And then do you provide broadcast for every single game? And how would you do that? What broadcaster would do that? And where would it be put? Because the fan would want to watch the game.
Cool. Okay, another question for you from Lise Kosimi, who's actually the external head of SVG Europe Women. Do you think the virus will have an impact on your next jobs as a woman? I.e., if there's a choice to make, will men be chosen instead of you? I guess in a pool where there are less jobs to go around in the first place.
I think there's always that not battle anyway, but there is always that fight anyway. I think you just kind of got to be confident. Don't hold me to this, but I think I'm the only VT coordinate design that's a female and things like that. So I think it's hard to say, but I think a lot of the technical jobs will go back, which I think is a good proportion of males. So I think in terms of a choice of people, I think it depends on the role, and sadly it is a bit of a man's world out there. So I think it's whoever gets contacted first. And again, it's, you know, who you know, what you know. So if you're top dog, they'll pick you first. That's probably the easiest way of putting it. It's kind of hard to say, really.
So as we're doing all right for time, have you thought about doing, someone else, an anonymous person has said, have you thought about doing any additional training while you're not working? And if so, what have you looked into?
So I've still been doing sort of editing work to just kind of keep practicing. I've been doing a few sort of design work as well. So I've been doing a lot of sort of Adobe work. I also kind of do a bit of languages. So I've not really done any technical courses. I've kind of tried to sway away from work in that sense. So nothing specifically course led.
Cool. Okay, and we've got a few coming in, so we're going to have to leave those for we'll do these offline next week, as I said. But one that I'd like to ask you is, do you think the government has done enough to support freelance workers in, well, not just sports broadcasting, but all broadcasting?
No. I know with myself, obviously, bad timing in a sense. But I know a lot of people I work with are limited companies and they've been left out. I think they had the bounce back loans went live a few days ago. But a lot of clients ask you to become a limited company because of the way that they pay their freelancers. And that has left a lot of people unsupported, basically. So I'd like to say it would be nicer to sort of have a sort of a blanket payout. I think Germany did one, and I think that would have been a much better approach to sort of freelancing, even if it was on a sort of means tested way. But yeah, I think they've sort of forgotten us a little bit.
Well, yeah, it's tough. It's not easy at all. But thank you so much for talking to us today, Ruth. It's been fantastic. But yeah, we'll hear more from you because we have a ton of questions coming through for you. So we'll do more next week on these. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ruth. And now I'm very happy to introduce our next speaker, who is Roisin McKeniry, who is going to be talking on innovation, being part of BT Sport's remote decentralized production. Thank you, Roisin. Over to you.
So firstly, I haven't had loads of time to prepare for this. So you're going to have to all forgive me having a discussion. And just to say, I was really lucky. I managed to get a little holiday in before COVID-19 started. I was up sitting in a hot tub looking at the world falling apart. And the main thing from our point of view on site at OB was obviously with all sporting events cancelling. I remember having, following on from what Ruth said, a discussion with some of my freelance editor friends, and we all went, but sport is recession proof. Yeah, that's one of the things that we love about it, working in it. We just weren't quite expecting a pandemic to kill it all quite as it did. When we started the whole decentralizing of BT Sport, because I work for Timeline, we, at the same time as trying to get people out of Stratford, we were looking at using all of the technology and innovation that we have in kind of our Ealing and Greenford divisions that they've used on different jobs and productions. So who knew that technology that was developed to allow us to get video signals from a sail GB boat would be pretty much what we need to use in these current situations. And that was very useful experience for us to have under our belts. We made a decision very quickly at BT Sport that everything that we would put in place would be as part of a long-term strategy. One of the big discussions we were having anyway was about, ironically and conversely, was about accessibility and looking at ways we could make sports production more accessible for people with disabilities, women who want to return from work, and how we could enable more remote working. For those purposes, we weren't quite anticipating having to set up all of the stuff that we have done, like MCRs in people's houses, etc., etc. From my personal point of view, one of One of the big things that was interesting in kind of the first week on site was, number one, trying to get people out of building, and that meant that on site it was a really, really strange atmosphere. There was an awful lot of very scared people, and scared for a number of things, not just that they might get sick, but because obviously financially, we as Timeline ended up having to furlough quite a number of staff. And it was really, really difficult to try and keep people motivated throughout the whole thing. And as a manager who's kind of quite a hands-on, some people might say micromanaging person, but as quite a hands-on manager, what I'm really, really struggling with is that lack of that kind of one-to-one. A Zoom meeting doesn't give you the same feeling of the subtleties of human interaction, and it's great and wonderful, and technology is fabulous, but it doesn't really help you when somebody's having a really, really bad day and you can't pick up on it as quickly as if they were just standing there in front of you. But we are getting there, and listening to Ruth, I know that as someone who's still working, I am really, really lucky. I've got a whole team of people who feel really fortunate. And one of the things, just to touch on one of the things, Ruth said, is how our role is going to change. And one of the real positives to come out of it for me was that we have really appreciated all of the roles that probably get overlooked. So the edit support teams, the media coordinators, because they have been absolutely flat out, initially just trying to get stuff in and out on drives, and now we've set up lots of remote editing and remote media management and everything. And editors and producers and everyone has suddenly realised that normally in the old days they would walk into an edit suite and everything was ready for them, and now they have to put a little bit more effort in. So the teams are being celebrated a lot more, and I think across the whole companies, with producers and everyone who is still working, there's almost this growing kind of team feeling going out of there, and everybody understands that we're all doing stuff because we have to all do stuff, not because we don't have menial roles anymore. We have everyone's important. You can't make TV without people, and that's been fantastically positive for me. It's I can't see us going back the way we were. I can't see it. I can't see. We are in our discussions as to do we go back. Our discussion isn't how do we get people back. It's how do we get people not to have to go back. How that'll impact the different roles for people like Ruth, I'm not sure. I don't know yet. I don't think we all know yet. But certainly there are many advantages to it, and I think we should all try and have a look at those. People are certainly realizing they might have to change the way they work, and we're implementing technologies that aren't quite ready yet, and they're buggy and everything, and everybody's being really, really patient. But we are making things possible that weren't possible before. I think there's going to be a massive, massive appetite for sport when we come back. So maybe the public as well will appreciate all of the hard work that goes into just producing a sports program. So hopefully that will be joyful, and all of our sound guys are really trying to think of ways to make the atmosphere at an empty stadium sound anything other than just wrong and feel wrong. But it's the big challenge has not been for me. It just hasn't been about technology. We've gotten technology to do stuff. We've gotten technology, adapted it, changed it, bodged a bit of kit onto another bit of kit with another bit of kit, and we've gotten it to do a thing that does a thing. Not beautifully necessarily, but we'll develop it, we'll make it better, and that's been fine. It's people. It's absolutely people who have been the challenge of people working with kids at home, people wanting to go to work, not able to go to work. I don't like working from home. It doesn't suit the way I manage people, but I'm having to adapt and change and actually think about how I communicate with people differently. So I think kind of there is going to be new ways of working. We're all going to have to adapt slightly, but I'm hoping, I really am hoping that an awful lot of positivity is going to come out of this. And I honestly think that we're going to end up with some really good new ways of doing things and a lot of happy people. Heather, you can jump in anytime you want.
Hi, Roisin. Thank you so much. That's really good. I think you touched on a lot of the kind of key issues that a lot of people are going through at the moment. And we've got a ton of questions for you as well. So you can't relax yet, sorry. So Kylie Jenner, one of your colleagues over there, hi Kylie, has said, talking about different ways of working and whether they should go back to how they were. Can galleries work in their current layout, or is this the end, and will we all be working from home in the future? And does that put limits on the people who will be able to carry out the work, i.e. they will have to have the correct internet connection, suffer the right equipment costs, basically kit out a studio at home, I assume? So
we're actually looking, I don't know if it is a secret or not, but ultimately we're looking at, and we were looking at, as part of the whole BT strategy of potentially regional offices, because, for example, we know we have some brilliant people in Scotland from Sunset and Vine team who used to work on Scottish football. We don't have that anymore. They're brilliant people. We want them doing stuff for us. So should everything be London centric? No. Do we want to have to set up yet another sound mixer in somebody's garage? No. Please, God, no. We don't want to have to do that. So from Kylie's point of view, I think the decentralisation isn't just about home working. I think there is stuff that we're doing that will allow people to work from home, absolutely. But decentralisation doesn't have to be about just working from home. It can be about regional outfits, and then that will cover the whole broadband issue and everything. Because it is, and go back to my point about the people that have been the kind of the media cohorts and the edit support guys. The reality is these are the people who are not the highest paid people in the industry. They probably live in shared houses with a whole pile of other people who want to watch YouTube all the time. So we couldn't ask them to work from home. It wouldn't be fair, and it wouldn't be right.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. We've got a load of questions for you. So again, we're going to be talking again next week, Roisin. But one more question for you. From Elaine Buckley, how do you envision the traditionally tight workspaces of OB facilities accommodating social distancing measures when people do return to live action? I know this is something that a lot of people are thinking about, particularly the OB providers.
Yeah, and obviously Tom and I do that as well. So I read a really interesting article about one of the OB providers in Germany, and they've basically put up perspex screens and make sure everybody goes to the toilet before they start. That's kind of standard anyway. So there you are. We are absolutely looking at that because it's a massive consideration. I think we're going to have to be realistic about what's possible, but it is things like perspex screens. And also, I think we have to, and we are listening to what people are comfortable with, because some people are obviously in certain scenarios where they're just not willing to put themselves at any kind of risk at all, whereas other people are, living on their own, and they're quite happy to say, well, look, the chances are you're going to be grand because everybody's been isolated. So there's a whole pile of considerations. But yeah, I can see a lot of perspex screens going up.
Yeah. A lot. Okay, thank you very much, Roisin. You can relax and have a glass of wine now. Okay, so that was fantastic. Thank you again to both of my speakers for sharing their stories with us today, and basically for both of them stepping in and replacing my original lineup completely. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. I want you to remember these are difficult times, but we're in this together, and SVG Europe Women is still here to help us connect and share experiences and get the support that we need to take us through this. One of the ways we're doing that is with Speakers Corner. Now, this is something that I kicked off about a month ago, and basically, in just a few words, it's a secure database of potential female speakers that we are going to get everywhere. on stage when we get back to having actual stages and people on them and people watching them, and also in virtual situations like this. So please go to our website, look on the right-hand side for the Speakers Corner box, click on that and sign up, because I need you. Our next virtual event is set for Wednesday, the 10th of June, where I will be speaking with BBC Director of Sport and winner of the SVG Europe Women Achievement Award 2020, Barbara Slater. So it's going to be awesome, just like this one was. So please look out in your inbox for the email with registration details for that one, and get 10th of June in your diary. And one more tiny thing, when you log out from here, you will be asked to provide feedback on this event in a tiny, tiny survey that will take you literally 1 minute to sign up to fill in. So please do that, because I would like to do more of these, but I want them to suit you, and your feedback will be invaluable. Okay, until next time, thank you very much for tuning in, and stay safe. Bye.